everyone, it is me, Anthony Couch, again, a guitarist here on YouTube. The prime directive of this channel is hopefully to teach. I'm a guitar teacher, I love teaching. And sometimes people in my comment section, they ask me questions, which is the best ever thing in the world. So with that being said, I've got a subscriber request. And I've got a message here that's come all the way from beautiful Sweden. And this is from Neo Hitston. I hope I've got that right, Neo Hitston.
Hi Anthony, I'm really enjoying your videos and I was just wondering if you could do a tutorial on how to get better at James Hetfield's style of permuting. I feel like when I play songs like Disposable Heroes, my wrist gets super tired pretty quickly. Greetings from Sweden, smiley face!
Well, Neo, I love Metallica, hence the existence of this guitar. Yeah, it's an Ibanez, they don't play Ibanez. Also, this has only got 5 strings. The eagle-eyed amongst you may have already noticed that I've only got 5 strings. That's because I did the string snap challenge on this very guitar and succeeded, and I've not actually got around to changing the string. So why even use this guitar, you may ask? Well, it's loaded with an EMG 81 and an EMG 85. And I'm sure the Metallica fans amongst you will know that Metallica use that pickup configuration, or did, I don't even know if they still do, but active pickups, EMG pickups. So when I was growing up and learning music, it had to be those pickups. So that's why I'm using this guitar. Anyway, let's get on with it for you, Neo, and hopefully for other people watching this video too. Permuting. Okay, it's a very aggressive, quick, tight, chugging sound. For those reasons, yeah, it's not really intricate sweep or tapping or crazy legato stuff. But for those reasons that it has to be so precise, it's tricky. It's quite a tricky thing to practice. In your question, Neo, you're saying about endurance as well. Keeping it up is not hard. It's not easy. Keeping it up is not easy. Okay. And in your question, you've mentioned the song Disposable Heroes. Good song choice. From my 2nd or 3rd favourite Metallica album. I'm not going to tell you what my first 2 are, you can guess. And in that song there is a riff, and I think the riff is something close to, how does it start now? And then the guitar too comes in playing those chords. And also that's when he's singing. I can't do the pattern and sing at the same time because James Hetfield is inhuman. So I've condensed this down into 3 ways, 3 tips that you can use to build your endurance, to make it sound close to James Hetfield's way of playing, and for it to sound clean. And we're just going to go straight in at number 1. Tip number 1 feels like a bit of a cop-out because it's always tip number 1 for anything that you ever want to learn, especially on guitar, but just for other things as well. Any kind of thing that requires a technique, you must perform it slowly, millions of times, okay, before you can start approaching any kind of endurance or speed. But I'm not just going to cop out like that and just say use a metronome, then bump it up. You know that, everyone knows that you play slowly, you build it up, you build up the speed. What I am going to add to that, Neo, is that you've got to play it slowly, but you've got to play it slowly with absolute 0 tension. No tension at all. Tension is the enemy of speed. Okay, no one can reach any kind of speed doing anything if there is any kind of obstacle in the way. Think of a car going from A to B, straight line, yeah, that's the fastest way. If you start adding in hills and corners and obstacles, then it's not going to get there as fast. So if you think about that analogy, for your forearm, your wrist, these should be super loose. Yeah, you don't need any kind of tension in this arm. Think about James Hetfield playing a 2-hour show. Think about other bands that don't play quite that long and play faster. Metallica are extremely fast at times, but they're not the fastest. Some really go for it. Think how long they play per show. for 5-6 days a week. If there is any kind of tension in the guitar player's arm, that's it. That's it. That's off into like future problems, you know, like health problems, injuries can occur. So it's so disheartening for any guitarist. I've been there, I'm still there, to be told and to have to accept that you've got to do things slowly, with no tension. No one's judging you for sitting there playing this song at... because you're training this part of your arm to relax. I'm always worried about that kind of stuff because it gets into like injury and doctor kind of situations where you really do have to know what you're talking about when it comes to the muscles. You've got to be really careful, Neo. Don't build up the speed or endurance if there is any tension. Harness the floppiness, Neo. Harness it. Tip number 2. Okay, tip number 2, the technique itself, permuting. There is a sweet spot on the guitar. My collar been up this whole time. I don't even know how to dress myself. There is a sweet spot on the guitar. The bridge, it goes bridge, string, yeah? But look closely at your guitar. Go and get your guitar, put it on your lap, and look, there's like just the tiniest moment where the string is kind of touching the nut, the bridge. Tiniest amount before it goes into the saddle. That's where you want to be. If you're too far this way with your permuting, when you've got this part of your hand in contact with the string, it's called permuting, but it shouldn't be because it's not the palm, it's this. It's like the heel of your hand, if anything. Yeah, like the heel of your foot. Let's have a look where this sweet spot is, because if you go too far this way, you don't get the effect. It sounds loose. There's no singing over that, it's just a mush. It loses the tightness. Heavy metal, that regimented, military style tension is lost. It's pointless. But let's go too far the other way. We're going to go past the sweet spot where the strings meet the bridge. Now a weird thing happens there. You start to hear pitches. In a really unpleasant, dead way. That could probably be harnessed though, and used to great effect if someone actually sat and worked out the frets, the imaginary fret. Anyway, so there's a sweet spot. A good thing to do is to work backwards like this until you get a tiny bit of sustain. You don't want a completely dead sound, but you don't want an open one either. So start up here and work your way back. Getting close, but then look where I'm picking right on my pickup. So I could do with going back a bit. So then what I'm doing, I'm too far back. If I don't want to pick where my pickup is, I've lost the effect, I've lost the tightness. So you also have to be thinking about pressure. Put your hand on the other hand like this, push down a little bit. It's a tiny surface area. Push down a little bit and your hand just kind of goes and just flattens out a little bit. Let that happen on the string. Because the best thing about this is there are varying degrees of permuting. You can get the really tight sound still pitched. So you can definitely hear those pitches. But then if you release the pressure a little bit, then you release the effect a little bit. So I'm going to put loads of pressure, then not as much pressure. So loads. And so on and so on. It's dead subtle, really subtle, and that kind of stuff about positioning changes from guitar to guitar. I've got a few guitars now. If you've got a few guitars, you might find that the sweet spot is different on each of them. Okay, tip numero 3. But stop, wait. Okay, before I get on to tip 3, if any of you have been watching my more recent videos, I have added this little segment inside in the middle of them. And it's question time. What do you think about Metallica? I love Metallica. Metallica split opinions. They're a massive, probably the biggest metal band. Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, I don't know. Let's, for argument's sake for this video, let's say Metallica are the biggest metal band in the world. But they split opinions so much. What do you think? I'd love to know, because I am all for them. So let me know in the comments below. Okay, so going back to tip number 3, it's all about your plectrum. And think about, right, this now is my plectrum. I'm holding this plectrum here like that, very straight. Now if I tilt this, go so that's normal flat picking, but we want it does two things that. It scrapes the plectrum against the coil, the windings of the strings, like a pick scrape, just the tiniest amount. So you get that sound, which I think adds to that aggression. You want to be aggressive when you're doing heavy metal stuff. You want it to sound scary, you want it to sound big and massive but tight at the same time. That's where the permuting comes in, but this just adds that little bite. Not only does it do that, Neo, but it also glides the plectrum over the string each time on the way down and on the way back. You don't have to go down and then switch it, oh I've dropped it, and then switch it and then come up, because it's already tilted on the way up. So it goes, you tilt it on the way down, tilt on the way up like this, and it glides over that string. I have the tiniest amount of plectrum poking through. The way I always describe that to my students is think about writing your name with a pen. Write your name with a pen. Were you holding that? I've no pen. Use a pair of scissors, right? If you're writing your name with a pen and you're holding the pen at the top like this, what's that handwriting going to look like, Neo? It's not going to say Neo. It's going to look like it's going to say, I don't know, something weird. If you want to write your name, you hold the pen right at the bottom for ultimate control, like that. And you get really neat handwriting. Same with the plectrum. If you're holding it over here like this and you want any kind of endurance, precision, anything like that, there's no point. There's no point. Hold it with the tiniest amount poking through, and then what is poking through, tilt it a little bit. Let it glide over those strings. Okay, so to recap, tip number 1 was to just slow it down with no tension. No tension at all in this arm. Tip number 2, it was about the permuting, wasn't it? So the sweet spot, not too far on the bridge, definitely not too far over on the strings. Got to be in that sweet spot that changes from guitar to guitar and hand size to hand size. Think about up and down pressure as well. Let your hand splodge onto the strings and flatten out. And then lift it a little bit for a less aggressive sound. And then the third one, that little scrape. And that's about it. That's about it. If you follow those 3, you're going to get well on your way to building up that endurance. I think probably tip number 1 is the most important. So just start slow and build it up. So there is no tension. Tension is the enemy of speed and endurance. Okay, you learned it here. That's it for today. Definitely come in with those subscriber requests. I love reading them, and I even more love filming them. So I've been Anthony Couch. If you've just happened across this video randomly, then why not consider subscribing, because you get loads of free guitar stuff. And who doesn't like free guitar stuff? Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.